What if the biggest battle you'll ever fight isn't against other people, but against the part of yourself that wants to react, complain, quit, seek approval, and lose control? Think about it. Someone says something that annoys you, and suddenly your mood changes. Someone disrespects you, and you spend hours thinking about it. Something doesn't go according to plan, and frustration takes over. You make a mistake, and instead of learning from it, you attack yourself. Someone succeeds, and comparison steals your peace. You know what you should do, but your emotions convince you to do something else. This is where self-control becomes one of the most valuable skills you can develop. Because intelligence without self-control can become destructive. Ambition without self-control can become obsession. Confidence without self-control can become arrogance. And even success without self-control can become meaningless. The ancient Stoics understood this. They knew that life would never be completely under our control. People will disappoint you. Plans will fail. Opportunities will disappear. Others will misunderstand you. You will experience loss, rejection, uncertainty, and failure. But there's one territory you can work relentlessly to govern: your own mind. Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus weren't teaching people how to control the entire world. They were teaching people how to stop becoming slaves to it. And today, we're going to explore 7 Stoic lessons for building a stronger mind and mastering the art of self-control. Not the kind of self-control that makes you emotionless, the kind that makes you unshakable. Lesson 1. Control your reaction, not the world. Let's begin with one of the most important Stoic principles. You cannot control everything that happens, but you can control your response to what happens. Simple, but incredibly difficult to practice. Imagine someone insults you. You didn't control their words, but you control whether you insult them back. Someone ignores you. You didn't control their decision, but you control whether you spend the entire day obsessing over it. Someone cuts you off in traffic. You didn't control their driving, but you control whether you allow a few seconds of bad behavior to ruin your entire afternoon. This is where most people lose their power. They spend their energy trying to control things that were never theirs to control. They want everyone to respect them. They want everyone to understand them. They want everyone to treat them fairly. They want circumstances to go according to plan. They want life to be predictable. But life doesn't make those promises. The Stoic doesn't waste energy demanding that reality become different. The Stoic asks, given that this is happening, what is the wisest response available to me? That question changes everything. Imagine someone says something offensive to you. There's the event. Then there's your reaction. But between those two things is a tiny space. A moment. A pause. That space is where self-control lives. Your first emotion may be anger. That's normal. But anger doesn't have to become your decision. You can feel anger and still choose your words carefully. You can feel disappointment and still behave with dignity. You can feel fear and still move forward. You can feel frustration and still remain composed. Emotions are signals. They don't have to be commands. That's a powerful distinction. Your mind might say something. You can pause. Your ego might say, prove yourself. You can pause. Your anger might say, get revenge. You can pause. Your fear might say, give up. You can pause. And in that pause, you reclaim your freedom. The Stoic pause. Here's a simple practice. When something triggers you, don't respond immediately. Take one breath, then another. Ask yourself, what response will I respect tomorrow? Not, what response will make me feel good for the next 10 seconds? That's the difference between impulse and wisdom. An impulsive response seeks immediate satisfaction. A disciplined response considers consequences. Someone insults you. You could insult them back. Instant satisfaction. But what happens afterward? More conflict, more anger, more regret, more wasted energy. Or you could remain calm. Maybe say nothing. Maybe walk away. Maybe address the issue later when emotions have settled. The second option may not feel as satisfying in the moment, but it protects your future self. And that is what self-control does. It chooses long-term peace over short-term emotional satisfaction. Lesson 2. Don't let your emotions become your identity. Here's a mistake many people make. They feel an emotion and immediately become identified with it. I'm angry. I'm anxious. I'm jealous. I'm insecure. I'm frustrated. But there's a powerful difference between saying, I am angry, and I'm experiencing anger. The first makes the emotion sound like your identity. The second reminds you that the emotion is temporary. You are not your anger. You are not your fear. You are not your insecurity. You are not your disappointment. These are experiences moving through you, and experiences can change. Think about a storm. When you're standing inside the storm, it feels permanent. But storms pass. Emotions are similar. They rise, they peak, and eventually they weaken. The mistake is making permanent decisions based on temporary emotional weather. Never make permanent decisions during temporary emotions. You're angry. Don't immediately send a message. You're heartbroken. Don't immediately destroy something you'll later regret losing. You're frustrated. Don't immediately quit. You're jealous. Don't immediately accuse someone. You're afraid. Don't immediately assume failure is inevitable. Give yourself time. Let the emotions settle. Then decide. This doesn't mean ignoring emotions. It means refusing to let them hold the steering wheel. A strong mind isn't a mind without emotion. A strong mind is a mind that can feel deeply without being controlled blindly. Lesson 3. Practice the discipline of wanting less. Now we reach a lesson that can completely change your relationship with happiness. Most people think they need more money, more attention, more followers, more success, more recognition, more possessions, more approval, more comfort. But the Stoics understood something different. Sometimes strength comes from learning to need less. Because the more things you believe you need in order to be happy, the more things can control you. If you need everyone to like you, people control you through rejection. If you need constant comfort, discomfort controls you. If you need praise, criticism controls you. If you need success to feel worthy, failure controls you. If you need certainty, uncertainty controls you. Think about that. Anything you believe you cannot live without can become a source of control over you. This is why Stoic discipline often involves practicing simplicity. Not because possessions are inherently bad, but because dependence creates vulnerability. Learn to be comfortable without comfort. Try occasionally doing things that challenge your dependence on comfort. Wake up early. Take a walk without your phone. Spend an hour without entertainment. Eat a simple meal. Delay unnecessary purchases. Sit quietly. Exercise when you don't feel like it. Do difficult work before entertaining yourself. These practices seem small, but they're training your mind. You're teaching yourself, I don't need immediate pleasure. I can tolerate discomfort. I can delay gratification. I can survive boredom. I can choose discipline over impulse. And that's powerful, because modern life constantly tells you, if something feels uncomfortable, escape immediately. Stoicism says, you can experience discomfort without being controlled by it. The power of delayed gratification. Imagine two versions of yourself. One says, I want it now. The other says, I can wait. The second person has an enormous advantage because patience is power. You want to check your phone. Wait. You want to buy something unnecessary. Wait. You want to respond angrily. Wait. You want to quit. Wait. You want immediate results. Wait. That pause trains the mind. You're building the ability to say, just because I want something doesn't mean I need to act on that desire immediately. That sentence is self-control. Your desires can become your chains. Think about how easy it is to become controlled by desire. You want attention, so you constantly check your phone. You want approval, so you change yourself to impress people. You want comfort, so you avoid difficult work. You want entertainment, so you procrastinate. You want success, so you become obsessed with results. The problem isn't necessarily desire itself. The problem is when desire becomes your master. The Stoic doesn't eliminate ambition. They discipline it. They don't eliminate pleasure. They refuse to become dependent on it. They don't eliminate emotion. They learn to govern it. That is the art of self-control. Your mind is a muscle. Think about physical strength. You don't become strong by reading about exercise. You become strong by repeatedly challenging your muscles. The same applies to the mind. You don't become mentally strong by watching motivational videos alone. You become mentally strong by practicing control when life gives you reasons not to. Someone annoys you, practice patience. You want to procrastinate, practice discipline. You feel like quitting, practice persistence. You want to seek approval, practice independence. You feel angry, practice restraint. Every difficult moment becomes training, and this changes the way you see adversity. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin asking, "How can I use this to strengthen myself?" That's a Stoic mindset. Your daily battles are your training ground. You don't need to wait for some massive crisis to develop mental strength. Your training ground is today. The annoying coworker, the difficult conversation, the temptation to procrastinate, the urge to complain, the desire to respond immediately, the temptation to compare yourself, the frustration of waiting. These moments are opportunities. Every time you practice self-control, you strengthen the habit. And every time you surrender to impulse, you strengthen that habit too. That's why small decisions matter. Your life is being shaped by thousands of tiny choices. Lesson 4. Control your attention. Your attention is one of the most valuable things you possess. Where your attention goes, your life follows. Think about that. If you spend hours watching other people's lives, you begin comparing yours. If you spend hours consuming negative news, your mind becomes filled with negativity. If you constantly check your phone, your ability to concentrate weakens. If you constantly listen to other people's opinions, you may eventually forget how to think for yourself. And if you spend most of your mental energy worrying about things you cannot control, you have very little energy left for the things you actually can control. This is why Stoic self-control isn't simply about controlling your behavior. It is also about controlling what you allow into your mind. Your attention is your life. Imagine someone gives you $100,000 and tells you, you have only 1 year to spend it. Every second that passes, you lose some of it. Would you waste it? Probably not. You would become extremely careful. But every day, you're given something even more valuable, your attention. And unlike money, you can never earn yesterday's attention back. You can earn more money. You can replace possessions. You can recover from mistakes. But you cannot recover yesterday. So why do we give our attention away so easily? A notification appears. We look. Someone posts something. We check. Someone sends a message. We immediately respond. Someone says something controversial. We become emotionally invested. Someone succeeds. We compare. Someone fails. We judge. And suddenly, hours have disappeared. The Stoic asks, was that worth my attention? That question alone can change your life. Stop letting other people rent space in your head. Have you ever had someone say something to you in the morning, and you've been thinking about it all day? Maybe someone criticized you. Maybe someone ignored you. Maybe someone made a rude comment. The conversation lasted 30 seconds. But you replayed it for 8 hours. They went on with their day. You carried the conversation around inside your mind. Who paid the price? You did. This is why emotional self-control requires attention control. You cannot always control what people say, but you can decide how long you allow their word to occupy your mind. Someone's opinion doesn't deserve unlimited access to your attention. Ask, is there something useful here? If yes, learn from it. If no, release it. Don't turn someone else's 5-second comment into your 5-hour problem. The Stoic filter. Before giving your attention to something, ask 3 questions. Is it true? Is it useful? Is it within my control? If the answer to all 3 is no, why are you spending your energy on it? This doesn't mean ignoring the world. It means becoming selective. Your mind is not a public park where everyone can walk in and leave their garbage. You have to protect it. Lesson 5. Turn failure into training. Now let's talk about one of the greatest enemies of self-control, the fear of failure. Many people avoid difficult things because they are terrified of failing. They don't start the business. They don't apply for the opportunity. They don't learn the skill. They don't approach the challenge. They don't take the risk. Why? Because they want to guarantee success before they begin. But life doesn't work that way. You cannot guarantee success. You can only control your preparation, effort, decisions, and response. This is why Stoicism teaches us to change our relationship with failure. Instead of asking, "What if I fail?" ask, "What will failure teach me?" Failure is information. Imagine you attempt something and it doesn't work. You have two choices. Option 1, I failed. I'm not good enough. This is embarrassing. I should quit. Option 2, interesting. That approach didn't work. What can I learn? The first response attacks your identity. The second analyzes the experience. One creates shame. The other creates growth. A strong mind doesn't pretend failure feels good. It simply refuses to make failure meaningless. Every failure contains information. You learn what doesn't work. You discover weaknesses. You identify mistakes. You develop resilience. You become more prepared. And sometimes, failure removes an illusion you desperately needed to lose. Stop making failure personal. You failed at something. That doesn't mean you are a failure. A failed attempt is an event. It is not an identity. This distinction is incredibly important. You can fail without becoming failure. You can lose without becoming a loser. You can make a mistake without becoming a bad person. You can experience rejection without becoming unworthy. Your mind becomes stronger when it learns to separate something went wrong from something is wrong with me. Those are not the same statement. The Stoic view of adversity. Imagine a tree growing in perfect weather. No strong wind, no storms, no harsh conditions. It may grow, but it has never been tested. Now imagine another tree exposed to storms. The wind pushes it. The branches bend. The weather becomes harsh. Yet the tree continues growing. The adversity forces it to develop strength. Human beings can be similar. Difficult experiences can expose weaknesses that comfort allows us to ignore. A rejection can teach resilience. A failure can teach patience. A difficult person can teach boundaries. A setback can teach preparation. A period of uncertainty can teach you to stop demanding certainty. This doesn't mean suffering is automatically good. It means you can choose to extract strength from what happens to you. That is within your control. Lesson 6. Stop seeking approval. Now we reach one of the biggest obstacles to self-control. The need to be liked. Think about how much of your behavior is influenced by other people's opinions. You want to say no, but you're afraid they'll be disappointed. You want to pursue a different path, but you're afraid they'll judge you. You want to leave a toxic situation, but you're afraid people will criticize your decision. You want to be yourself, but you're afraid you won't fit in. And slowly, you begin living for an audience. You make decisions based on what other people might think. That's not freedom. That's emotional dependence. You cannot control other people's opinions. You could be kind, and someone will call you weak. You could be confident, and someone will call you arrogant. You could be quiet, and someone will call you strange. You could be ambitious, and someone will call you obsessed. You could set boundaries, and someone will call you selfish. You could help people, and someone will still criticize you. So if people are going to have opinions regardless, why make your entire life dependent on them? You don't need universal approval. You need integrity. The danger of explaining yourself. When you're addicted to approval, you explain everything. Why you made the decision, why you left, why you changed, why you're different, why you're quiet, why you're pursuing something. You become exhausted trying to manage everyone's perception of you. But here's the truth. You cannot control the story people tell about you. You can only control your character. So explain yourself when communication is necessary. But don't turn your entire life into a courtroom where you are constantly defending your choices. You don't need to prove your worth. Build it through your actions. Lesson 7. Do what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. This is where everything comes together. Self-control isn't simply about resisting bad habits. It is about doing the right thing when your feelings don't cooperate. You know you should exercise, but you don't feel like it. You know you should study, but you're tired. You know you should work, but your phone is more entertaining. You know you should apologize, but your ego doesn't want to. You know you should leave, but you're afraid. You know you should start, but you're waiting to feel motivated. And this is where many people fail. They think, when I feel motivated, I'll do it. But motivation is unreliable. Your feelings change every day. Discipline must be stronger than mood. Don't negotiate with every feeling. Imagine waking up every morning and asking yourself, do I feel like working today? Maybe you do. Maybe you don't. If your responsibilities depend entirely on your mood, your progress will be inconsistent. Instead, create a rule. I do what I committed to doing. Not perfectly, not excessively, but consistently. If you said you'll train for 30 minutes, train. If you said you'll work for an hour, work. If you said you'll study, study. If you said you'll stop checking your phone while working, put it away. You're teaching your mind that your commitments matter. Discipline creates self-trust. This is one of the greatest benefits of discipline. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you build self-trust. You said you would wake up early. You did. You said you would exercise. You did. You said you would stop reacting. You practiced. You said you would focus. You focused. Little by little, your brain begins learning. When I make a commitment, I follow through. That belief is powerful, because confidence isn't only built by succeeding. It's built by trusting yourself. And you trust yourself when your actions consistently match your intentions. Stop waiting to feel ready. One of the biggest lies people tell themselves is, I'll start when I'm ready. You may never feel ready. You may be afraid. You may doubt yourself. You may feel tired. You may feel inexperienced. Start anyway. The Stoic doesn't require perfect emotional conditions before taking action. They understand that action often creates confidence. You don't become courageous and then act. Sometimes you act, and courage develops because of the action. You don't become disciplined and then start. You start practicing discipline, and discipline develops. The 5-second test. Here's a simple exercise. When you catch yourself procrastinating, ask, what is the smallest useful action I can take right now? Don't think about completing everything. Just begin. Open the document. Put on your shoes. Read one page. Make one phone call. Write one paragraph. Clean one area. Do 5 minutes. Why? Because starting breaks resistance. The mind often makes tasks appear larger before you begin. Once you start, momentum takes over. Self-control is built in small moments. You don't become mentally strong during one dramatic moment. You become strong through thousands of small choices. You choose not to send the angry message. You choose to get out of bed. You choose not to gossip. You choose not to waste another hour scrolling. You choose to listen instead of interrupting. You choose to work when nobody is watching. You choose to walk away instead of arguing. You choose to keep going after disappointment. Each decision seems small, but together they become your character. The Stoic mindset. I choose. Notice the difference between these two statements. I can't help it. And I choose. I can't stop checking my phone. Becomes. I choose where my attention goes. I can't control my anger. Becomes. I choose how I respond to anger. I can't stop procrastinating. Becomes. I choose to begin. I can't say no. Becomes. I choose what I allow into my life. Language matters because it changes how you see yourself. The victim asks, why is this happening to me? The Stoic asks, what can I do about it? Now imagine practicing these principles for 1 year. You stop reacting immediately. You become more patient. You spend less time worrying about other people's opinions. You become more disciplined with your attention. You stop needing constant entertainment. You become comfortable with discomfort. You stop chasing approval. You begin keeping promises to yourself. You recover faster from failure. You complain less. You take responsibility more quickly. And something incredible happens. You become calmer. Not because life became easier, but because you became harder to disturb. That's the real goal. Self-control is a foundation of freedom. Imagine someone who can control their spending. They aren't controlled by every desire to buy something. Imagine someone who can control their anger. They aren't controlled by every provocation. Imagine someone who can control their attention. They aren't controlled by every notification. Imagine someone who can control their appetite. They aren't controlled by every craving. Imagine someone who can control their words. They aren't controlled by every impulse to speak. Imagine someone who can control their time. They aren't controlled by everyone else's demands. This is freedom. Not the freedom to do everything you want. The freedom to choose what you do instead of being commanded by every impulse. That's a much deeper form of freedom. The final Stoic principle: you are responsible for your response. Life will give you circumstances you didn't ask for. Some will be unfair. Some will be painful. Some will be disappointing. Some will be completely outside your control. You may lose opportunities. You may be misunderstood. You may experience rejection. You may fail. You may be betrayed. You may face uncertainty. But after the event happens, one question remains: what will I do now? That's where your power returns. Maybe you can't change what happened, but you can choose what happens next. You can learn. You can rebuild. You can forgive. You can walk away. You can try again. You can become wiser. You can become stronger. You can choose not to become bitter. And that final choice matters, because circumstances can hurt you, but you decide what kind of person you become afterward. 1. Master your temper. One of the clearest signs of self-control is the ability to manage anger. Anger can feel powerful. It gives you energy. It makes you feel certain. It tells you, you're right. They're wrong. Do something. Don't let this go. But anger can be deceptive. It can convince you that destroying peace is the same thing as defending yourself. It isn't. Sometimes the strongest response is calm. Imagine someone intentionally trying to provoke you. They want you angry. They want you to lose control. They want you to say something embarrassing. They want to see you react. So don't give them the satisfaction. Pause. Breathe. Observe. Ask, what response protects my dignity? Not, what response hurts them the most? That's a major difference. Revenge asks, how can I make them suffer? Wisdom asks, how can I remain in control? Choose wisdom. Anger is expensive. Think about what anger costs. It can ruin your mood, damage relationships, destroy opportunities, create words you can't take back, increase stress, waste hours. And sometimes, one moment of anger can create consequences that last for years. That's why emotional restraint is not weakness. It's protection. When you control your temper, you're protecting your future. You're refusing to let a temporary emotion make a permanent decision. 2. Master your need to be right. This is one of the hardest forms of self-control. You know you're right. You have evidence. You can prove it. But do you always need to? Sometimes people aren't interested in truth. They're interested in winning. You can spend an hour explaining something to someone who has already decided not to understand. And what do you gain? Frustration. The Stoic learns that being right and needing to prove you're right are two different things. You can know your position without forcing everyone to accept it. You can disagree respectfully. You can walk away. You can say, I see it differently, and move forward. Your peace doesn't need to depend on winning every argument. The ego loves conflict. Your ego wants recognition. It wants people to acknowledge, I was right. I knew it. I told you. You were wrong. But every time you feel the need to prove yourself, ask, who am I trying to impress? Sometimes the answer is, my ego. And the ego is never satisfied. You prove one thing, then it needs another. You win one argument, then another appears. You receive recognition, then you need more. The Stoic learns to step outside that cycle. You don't have to win every battle. Sometimes walking away is a victory. 3. Master your need for immediate results. We live in an age of instant gratification, instant messages, instant entertainment, instant information, instant purchases, instant reactions. But meaningful growth doesn't happen instantly. Building a strong mind takes time. Building a successful career takes time. Building trust takes time. Building physical strength takes time. Building emotional maturity takes time. Building wisdom takes time. And impatience can destroy all of these things. You start something. It doesn't work immediately. You quit. You try again. No instant results. You quit again. Eventually, you become someone who constantly starts but rarely finishes. The Stoic understands the power of persistence. Focus on the process. Instead of asking, When will I finally succeed? Ask, what can I do today? You don't need to control 5 years. Control today. You don't need to complete the entire journey today. Take today's step. Study today. Train today. Work today. Say today. Practice today. Reflect today. Tomorrow will have its own demands. But today is yours. This is how massive achievements are created. One disciplined day at a time. 4. Master your response to rejection. Rejection attacks the ego. Someone doesn't choose you. Someone doesn't hire you. Someone doesn't accept your idea. Someone doesn't want the relationship. Someone doesn't invite you. And immediately your mind asks, what's wrong with me? But rejection doesn't always mean you're inadequate. Sometimes it means you're not the right fit. Sometimes circumstances aren't aligned. Sometimes another person simply wants something different. Sometimes the opportunity wasn't meant for you. The Stoic doesn't deny the pain of rejection. They simply refuse to make rejection an identity. You can hear no without believing. I am nothing. That's emotional strength. Don't chase what doesn't choose you. There is something incredibly powerful about accepting reality. If someone doesn't want to be in your life, accept it. If an opportunity closes, accept it. If someone chooses another path, accept it. You can make a reasonable effort, but don't spend your entire life trying to force what isn't naturally aligned. Sometimes your greatest act of self-respect is saying, I accept this and I will move forward. No revenge, no begging, no obsession, no endless questions. Forward. 5. Master the art of letting go. You cannot build a strong future while constantly carrying your past. Some people spend years replaying old conversations. What if I had said this? What if I had chosen differently? Why did they do that? Why didn't I see it? Why did I trust them? These questions can trap you. Reflection is useful. Obsessing is not. Learn the lesson, then release the event. You cannot change yesterday, but you can change today. The past can be a teacher. It should not become your prison. Let go without becoming careless. Letting go doesn't mean pretending nothing happened. It means accepting that it happened and deciding not to let it control your future. Someone hurt you? Learn. Someone betrayed you? Become wiser. You made a mistake? Take responsibility. You failed? Adjust. Then continue. You don't have to forget the lesson. You simply stop carrying the emotional weight forever. 6. Master yourself when nobody is watching. This is perhaps the greatest test of character. What do you do when nobody is watching? Do you still keep your promises? Do you still work? Do you still practice discipline? Do you still tell the truth? Do you still control your impulses? Do you still respect your values? Anyone can perform discipline when an audience is present. Real character appears in private. You say, I'm going to work on myself. Nobody knows. Do you still do it? You say, I'm going to stop wasting my time. Nobody is checking. Do you still stop? You say, I'm going to become healthier. Nobody is applauding. Do you still train? That's where self-control becomes real. 7. Master your mind before the world tests it. You don't wait for a crisis to decide who you want to be. You practice now. If you want to remain calm under pressure, practice calmness during small frustrations. If you want to control your anger, practice restraint during minor disagreements. If you want to become disciplined, practice keeping small promises. If you want to stop seeking approval, practice making small decisions without asking everyone what they think. If you want mental strength, voluntarily challenge yourself. Train before the storm. Don't wait to lose something to appreciate it. Look around. There are things in your life today that you once desperately wanted, but familiarity has made them ordinary. The Stoic reminds himself, this is temporary. Not to create fear, to create appreciation. Your time is temporary. Your youth is temporary. Your relationships change. Your opportunities change. Your circumstances change. So use today wisely. Don't waste your life waiting for a perfect future while ignoring the present. Build a mind that can handle both success and failure. Here's another overlooked aspect of self-control. Some people can handle failure, but they can't handle success. Success gives them arrogance. Attention changes them. Money changes them. Power changes them. Recognition makes them careless. The Stoic seeks balance. If you succeed, remain grounded. If you fail, remain steady. If people praise you, don't become addicted. If people criticize you, don't collapse. Don't allow external circumstances to determine your identity. Your character should remain stable. When people praise you, enjoy appreciation, but don't depend on it. Someone says, "You're amazing." Thank them, but don't build your identity around their compliment. Tomorrow, someone may criticize you. If your identity depends on praise, criticism will destroy you. Instead, ask, "Do I know who I am?" If you do, compliment become pleasant, not necessary. When people criticize you, don't automatically reject criticism, and don't automatically believe it. Examine it. Ask, is there truth here? If there is, improve. If there isn't, release it. This is emotional maturity. The insecure person says, "How dare they criticize me?" The overly dependent person says, "They must be right." The Stoic says, "Let me examine the information." Then they decide, become difficult to disturb. This is what all 7 lessons ultimately building toward. You become difficult to disturb, not impossible. You're still human. You still experience emotion, but you recover faster. Someone insults you. You don't spend the entire day thinking about it. You experience rejection. You grieve, learn, and continue. You fail. You adjust and try again. You become angry. You pause. You make a mistake. You take responsibility. You experience uncertainty. You focus on what you can control. That is mental resilience. The Stoic mindset in one sentence. If you remember nothing else from this entire video, remember this. Control what you can, accept what you cannot, and always choose your response. That's the foundation. You don't need to control the entire world. You need to control your contribution to it. Your effort, your choices, your attitude, your words, your habits, your attention, your character. You don't need to become a different person overnight. Don't make the mistake of thinking, "From tomorrow, I'll never get angry again." That's unrealistic. Instead, "Tomorrow, I'll pause once before reacting." Then twice, then 3 times. Small victories accumulate. You don't build a strong mind through one heroic decision. You build it through repetition. One controlled reaction. One disciplined morning. One unnecessary argument avoided. One temptation resisted. One difficult task completed. One honest reflection. Again, and again, and again, until it becomes who you are.